Do the Lakers have enough talent to make a championship run this year? This is the question all of us Lakers fans are wondering, and today I'm here to give you that answer. Welcome to Dean Sports Report, where I bring you fan-driven insights with professionals all over the sports media industry. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Jovan Buha, reporter for the Lakers for The Athletic. Jovan, how's it going, man? Appreciate you for hopping on.
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me on.
No, it's great. It's a quick turnaround. I know we were able to meet real quick in Colorado at the Denver Nuggets game, which of course was a great win. I would love to hear a little bit quickly about like your background and what kind of led you up to this moment to be one of the biggest reporters for the Lakers.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I'm from Agora Hills. For those who are aware of the LA area, so I went to Agora High School. Then I went to USC. So I managed to stay in Southern California and LA specifically, and I've never left. So out of USC, went there for print and digital journalism with a sports media studies minor. Then went to Fox Sports for a couple of years as a writer and editor. Went to ESPN for a couple of years as an editor, and then I decided that at 25 it was time to bet on myself and fulfill my dream of being an NBA reporter. So I started to put some feelers out there, and just timing and luck and happenstance all kind of aligned with The Athletic expanding to LA and looking for some new, younger reporters. So I got hired by The Athletic to cover the Clippers, and I covered the Clippers for 2 years. And then in 2020, during the pandemic and right after the Lakers won the bubble title, they were looking to expand their Lakers coverage. So they offered me, we'll say, the promotion to going from the Clippers to the Lakers. And I end up switching over to the Lakers. And now this is my 5th season covering the Lakers for The Athletic.
So cool, man. Sounds like a dream job to me. I love how you say you were just with ESPN so nonchalantly. But it's fun because I went to Calabasas High School, so very, very small world. It's awesome to hear as well. Sweet.
Yeah,
so I guess
same area.
No, exactly. And yeah, I go to Colorado. It's my last semester now, which, it's been different because I'm used to being around, Lakers fans all the time. And now I'm living with a couple Nuggets guys. And the past couple of years, man, it has been tough, in the playoffs and the Jamal Murray game winners and all that. But, this year, hopefully it is going to be different, I guess we can get right into it. So the Lakers, 36-21, 15 games over 500. We've won 14 out of the last 17, and we're on fire right now, fighting for the top seed in the West. At the same time, so many crazy storylines this year. We have LeBron playing elite basketball in year 20. We have JJ Redick being a rookie head coach. We have obviously the craziest trade in NBA history with the addition of Luka Doncic. I guess just very generally, give me the pitch. Why this year? Why can the Lakers this year go on a title run?
The reason I think is because if you look at the past 20 games, the Lakers are 16-4. They have the best defense in the NBA over that stretch. They have a top 10 offense, and it's not the largest sample size. It's not the full sample size of the season, but it's also not an insignificant amount of time either. It is over a third of the season with the Lakers having the league's best defense and a top 10 offense. And historically, the benchmarks you want to hit as a true contender are top 10 offense, top 10 defense. There are some exceptions. Obviously, if you're better on one side of the ball, like you could be the best defense and the 15th best offense or something like that. But you want to be above average in both categories, and you ideally want to be in the top 10. And the Lakers have been that for going on a month and a half right now. And I think the most impressive part of it is that it has come with several variations of this group. So there was initially the AD Max Christie group. Then AD gets injured right before the trade, and they're without him for a few games. Sure. Then they continue to win. They have the big win in New York without AD right before the trade. Then they do the trade, and they don't have Luka quite yet because he's still battling that left calf strain that kept him out for 6 weeks. So now they're without AD and Max Christie, two of their best defenders, two starters. They don't have Luka yet. And they're still winning. They beat the Clippers, and they beat the Warriors, and like they continue to, and then they even beat the Pacers without LeBron and without Luka. Then finally Luka makes his debut, and then they're now 4-2 with Luka. So I just think if you look at like the through line there has been JJ Redick and the coaching staff have really come into their own. I think with their individualized game plans, and I think JJ is just straight up outcoached some of the top coaches in the league over the past month. I think LeBron, as you mentioned, has been playing at a top 5 first team All NBA level. I wouldn't quite go as high as to say like first team all defense or something like that, kind of the way that JJ was talking about it, but he has been much better on the defensive end and has largely been very good on the defensive end. And then you add in Luka, and this is a guy who, in my opinion, even before the trade, for those who listen to my podcast, Buha's Block, I'd been saying I felt Luka was the second best player in the league. Just anytime I would be like ranking the top 5 or top 10 or whatever. So I've been consistent in that. That has not changed. I know he's been going through a bit of a shooting slump, but I think like we saw the Denver game, we saw the way that he eviscerated them. They had no answer for him. I think that's going to change the complexion of those matchups. And I think, but between JJ and the job he's done with game planning and preparation, LeBron and the level he's been at, and then Luka still coming into his own, but I think just having the ultimate ceiling as arguably the second best player in the league, like that combination right there, to me, puts this team firmly in the championship picture. And right now I have them 4th in the league. I think Boston deserves credit as the defending champs. Oklahoma City has had a historic season from a net rating perspective. They've ran away with the West in terms of record, and then Cleveland is having an awesome season, and I think they deserve it seems like they're on a collision course with Boston in the 1-2 matchup. But beyond anyone else, like New York, Denver, whoever else you want to put in the mix, I think the Lakers are right there, if not at the top of the list.
Yeah, definitely. No, for me, what feels so different about this year is that we've just been able to beat some of the best teams. I feel like, beating the Celtics, beating the Warriors, beating the Knicks, beating the Clippers too. It's like the past couple of years, this has definitely been a hump that we haven't really been able to get over. So that's why it feels so different. And, for me as a guy who's, I'm not working for the Lakers, I'm talking as a fan, right? As a fan spokesperson, it still feels that Luka Doncic still has a lot left to do with the Lakers. I mean, he's coming off the injuries still. He definitely doesn't have his full confidence back. We saw it with the Nuggets, but it still feels in a way that we haven't even hit our peak yet. And for me, that's super exciting to see because, this is the perfect time to do it. And everyone around him is playing at the top of their game. I know Rui got injured last night, which I don't know if we have the exact statement on that, but I'm wondering from your perspective, there's a lot of talk that we don't have a true center, right? I know Jackson Hayes has been playing better, but is he going to be that guy who's going to stop Jokic down the line? So I'm thinking, my question to you is, who is our final 5 when the game's on the line? What final 5 guys are going to be there to, get the Lakers over the hump?
I think it's going to be a centerless group with LeBron, Rui, DFS, Austin, and Luka. I think that's their best 5 players, and I think that's the best possible lineup. We've seen that lineup have some success. They closed the Dallas game and played really well down the stretch of that Dallas game as LA staved off the Mavericks run there in the fourth quarter. So I think Jackson, to your point, has played much better and has outperformed his contract. I think he's played his way into like being a really good backup center. And if he, I think, was slotted more appropriately, he would be a backup. And I think among backup centers, he's right there as like probably a top 5 backup center with the way that he's been playing. It's just when you start him and now you're comparing him to the other 29 starting centers, like I think, he's pretty far down that list in comparison. Like most of these other contenders, like Boston starting Kristaps Porzingis, OKC starting Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren, Cleveland starting Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Like it's just a different caliber of player. Like all those teams have like all-star level centers, and the Lakers are starting, in my opinion, a good backup. So I think there's a bit of a gulf there, but it hasn't really mattered because, as I said, the past 20 games, they've been the best defense in the league. And that's been with AD in the lineup, AD out of the lineup, going bigger, going smaller. And they've just cultivated this new defensive identity where they are rotating and scrambling. And like the way that they guarded Nikola Jokic was, I think, and I don't think this is like hyperbolic, like I think it was one of the best defensive performances I've seen any team have against Jokic, just period, where 7 shot attempts, 6 turnovers, just 13 points. Like he's a guy who walks into basically a 25-point triple-double every single night and is not a high turnover guy. So I think that like they were preventing him from even getting the ball, and they're almost zoning up with like all five guys specifically against him.
Right.
And so I just think the creativity defensively from JJ, the guys have been playing really, really hard. I actually think that's affected their shooting. It's just been like everyone is playing hard defensively and rotating baseline to baseline, sideline to sideline. Like it's just been at such a high level that I think it's kind of sapped their legs a little bit. But I do think in the summer they need to address the center position and probably go trade for someone or acquire a better center than Jackson Hayes. But for now, the roster is the roster. They're like, if you look at the alternatives, Alex Len, Trey Jemison, Christian Coloco, I don't think any of those guys are better than Jackson. I don't think any of those guys are the answer. So I think it's going to be a healthy dose of small ball. But even then, they got a bunch of big wings. So it's like they're centerless, but they're not necessarily small.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we got to give credit where credit's due, and Vanderbilt just got in Nikola Jokic's head that night. I mean, right off the bat, you could, like, in person, it's a whole different feeling, you know? I mean, I haven't been lucky enough to go to as many Laker games as you have, but it's awesome to see the, I guess, behind the scenes, like, chirping that Vanderbilt was doing, and kind of just, you could see that, like, Jokic was getting in his head for sure. Okay, we got to talk a little bit about my guy, Austin Reeves. I think that he could definitely be an all-star within the next couple of years. I mean, the way he stepped up his game has been crazy. He's been averaging about 20 on this run. I've seen this trend going around Bleacher Report and all, you know, the fun sports media outlets out there. Do you think the Lakers have the best trio in the league with LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Luka Doncic?
It's a good question. Probably. I think it is to some extent carried by how good I think LeBron and Luka are the best duo in the league. And then I think Austin has obviously taken a huge leap this season. And I think we could have seen, honestly, a similar leap last season. And for various reasons, he was not really empowered to become the player he's become this season. But off the top of my head, yeah, I mean, I think OKC is in the conversation, but they don't have, like, you know, the gap between whoever you want to put at number two Jalen is, I guess, Jalen. Like, I think Chet's better than Austin, but I think the gap between J-Dub and LeBron or Luka is bigger than the gap between like Chet and Austin. So then it's like, I guess, like I kind of view it more as, for me, like when we're talking about a duo or a trio, like the top end talent really carries how I view it. I think Boston is an interesting one, depending on who you want to put at number three, between probably, I would say, Derek White or Kristaps Porzingis. Sure. But I do think Luka and LeBron are a better duo than Tatum and Brown. So I would still probably lean ultimately toward the Lakers. So yeah, I mean, I think at worst they're top three, but I think you can make a strong case for number one.
For sure. I love how you're able to kind of keep your bias out of it. Like, for me, it's like, I can't even give the Celtics any credit, you know, but to be honest, it's up there. And I love that this is a conversation now. It's cool because, you know, a couple years ago, you look on paper, or I guess you would probably say like the Suns, or even like, you know, now the Sixers with like Embiid, Maxey, and Paul George. But I like how some of these younger guys are now making a name for themselves. And, you know, like the league is definitely changing in that aspect.
Yeah.
Sweet. I guess, you know, a couple more questions. Don't want to take up too much of your time. A thought that I've been going back and forth with. It looks like LeBron has kind of taken a step back, right? He, as in being the number one ball carrier, he is like, his shot has been so much better, but I've noticed that like his assists have gone down a little bit. I guess my question is, and, you know, obviously it's going to come to a matchup and the specific factors, but down the stretch, do you think it's going to be Luka or LeBron taking that final shot?
I think it depends, to your point, on like the matchup and who's guarding who. I think Luka is going to be the primary ball handler. And I think just being, I mean, today's his birthday. He just turned 26. So he's now 14 years younger than LeBron, not 15 years. But that is a significant gap in terms of age. And I just think Luka is more, he's better suited to handle that type of offensive workload. And I think LeBron can do that. It's just like when we're looking at his minutes and just how much he has played, like you want to be like, there have been points in the season where he has looked a little energy depleted. I think right before he took that break in early December, like that was when he was having some of those high turnover games. He had that shooting slump there that was like the worst of his career, or the worst since his rookie season. So he has had a couple of points this season where I think he's looked a little bit more human than typical. And I think the Lakers, as they look toward the final 6 weeks here of making their playoff push, they got to be careful. Like, because I would even say like LeBron has taken a slight step back in terms of like his usage and ball handling, but they've almost leaned on him more as Luka has struggled and
Sure.
been in this slump. It's kind of been like LeBron has had to bail them out in both the Dallas game and the game last night against Minnesota in the fourth quarter in both instances. So I think as Luka gets more acclimated to the offense, as he fully, recovers from this left calf strain and just looks more like himself, I think you'll start to see maybe him have more of those fourth quarter moments. And I think that's the beauty of the Lakers is LeBron and Luka are two of the most clutch players in the league. And then Austin, for even like his resume up to this point, he's hit several game-winning shots, big shots. He's a big-time player. So you have three guys. So I think you should be comfortable with making plays and taking big shots in the fourth quarter. But I would say it probably depends on the context of like, if you need a quicker shot, I think Luka can create that separation with his step back in like almost any scenario. So, maybe it's a Luka situation. If you have a little bit more time, then maybe I want LeBron trying to get downhill and get to the rim. And we've seen him make countless layups or get to the free throw line or whatever. So it's like, I think it kind of depends on the context of the game, the opponent. Do they have a rim protector in there? Do they not? Are they switching everything? So I think it's tough to say, but I think it's a good problem to have. Having two guys who can both take and make the big shot. Some teams don't even have the one guy. Lakers have two of them.
No, I'm so excited to watch as well. I think my last question is, we know the struggles we've had against the Nuggets in the past couple of years, just matching up with them in the playoffs. Obviously, we beat them a couple days ago, and we got Luka Doncic, so it's a new era for Lakers basketball. But is there a specific matchup or matchups that you think the Lakers might benefit more later in the playoffs? Or is it kind of like, to be the best, you got to beat the best? So give us the Thunder, give us the Nuggets, or obviously we want to be highest ranking in the West we could. But, is there a team like, let's say the Rockets, I would say I would probably want to stay away from the Mavs if they get healthy later on. Like, what could be, I guess, the best like path for the Lakers in the playoffs from your point of view?
Yeah, I think the best path is getting the 2 seed, because right now, if you look at the West, there seems to be like OKC is going to be the 1 seed. Sure. Then there's a battle right now between 2 and 5, and then there's another battle between like 6 and 11. Yep. And for the Lakers are in that 2-5 mix, but I think there's a huge difference between being, say, the 2 seed and the 5 seed. The 5
Sure.
seed, you are starting the first round without home court advantage, so you got to win on the road. Then your prize for winning that series is going to OKC and having to beat a team that, in my opinion, I think many people are overlooking just because they're young, they're inexperienced, they haven't done it before. But they're having a similar season to the season Boston had last year. And Boston had a relatively easy way or easy path to winning a championship. It was pretty dominant in the playoffs. And I'm not saying OKC is going to do that necessarily. I think the West is tougher than the East. But I still think people, for various reasons, are just kind of dismissing the Thunder as like a clear favorite in the conference. When to me, I would put them, I would label them that way. So I would say, but now being the 2 seed, though, you have home court advantage in round 1. You host the 7 seed, which in theory is a worse team than like the 4 seed if you're the 5. Then you have home court advantage in the second round against 3 or 6. And you're on the opposite side of the bracket as OKC. And maybe you luck out and Denver's in the 4-5. Denver advances. And now you have Denver and OKC probably having like a 7-game bloodbath in the second round. And then the winner goes on to play you, and you're probably a little bit more rested. So I would say, I think the worst path is 5, and I think the best path is 2. I don't know. That's like not a crazy take. In terms of matchups, I think Memphis is probably, of the top 5 teams right now that it's looking like, I think Memphis is probably the best matchup for them. I think they've just always matched up well with Memphis. I think LeBron has had his way attacking them downhill. They kind of have some beef I feel like he always gets up for those games,
Yeah,
but I just don't think they have the perimeter defenders to match up with LeBron and Luka specifically. They've got some good perimeter defenders, but they're all on the smaller side. I just don't think they can stop those two guys. I think the worst matchup is actually OKC, just because of how good I think they are. I know the Lakers had success against them last year. I think Shea's at a different level, J-Dub's at a different level, Chet's at a different level. They added Hartenstein, they added Caruso. I just think OKC last year compared to this year, it's two different teams. So I would say, I think Denver actually might be among the top five, the second best matchup. And Houston might be, to me, like the third toughest one, just because they're so fast and athletic and long on the perimeter. And I think they have more guys to actually throw at LeBron and Luka when healthy. Whereas Denver, I think we saw it in the game, they just couldn't guard them. I felt like the Lakers had an okay shooting night. If they had a good shooting night, I think they dropped 140, and we're talking about a 35 point win and a very embarrassing loss for the Nuggets. So I actually felt like the Lakers, yes, they executed well defensively, but offensively, they basically generated whatever looks they wanted. Denver was a step behind the entire game. And I just don't think Denver has the personnel to match up with LA on the defensive end now that they have Luka. So I would probably rank it in terms of best to worst matchup: Memphis, Denver, Houston, OKC. And I know that's a little controversial because I still think people view the Nuggets as the boogeyman, but I think the Lakers match up much better with them.
It's funny you say that too, because during that Nuggets game, we were up 15 with 3 minutes left before, I believe it was Luka who hit that dagger, and I still wasn't feeling totally right about it, because the past couple of years, we've been winning 70% of the games, and somehow they're always able to come back. So it was great to see that win. And yeah, I believe the West is just so stacked. We really don't know what's going to happen. There's, we didn't even mention the Warriors, who are getting hot right now, and then
they look really good.
The Clippers, who are always there and tough to beat as well. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome playoff ride, and I like our chances, not just as a Lakers fan, but just trying to be unbiased as I can. I love it. Sweet. To wrap it up real quick, just I guess stepping back a little bit more from a general point of things, I'd love to hear what is your favorite moment as a Lakers reporter, just covering the team, a game you've been to, a moment that happened. I would love to hear as someone who's trying to get into the industry myself.
My favorite moment for sure has been LeBron passing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the NBA's all-time leading scorer in the regular season. And coincidentally, that came against the Thunder a couple of years ago. But the cool thing with that game was we knew it was going to be that game, just based on how many points he needed. He showed up wearing the all black outfit, which signaled business, and he was there to break the record. And the cool thing, which the Lakers have started to do over the past few years, but that was really the first time, was they bring us on the court when they do some of these things. So if it's a jersey retirement or some type of ceremony, we get to come on the floor. So it was really cool to LeBron hits the shot, they stop the game, and then they have this ceremony middle of the game. It wasn't even halftime. It wasn't it was just, whenever, I forgot if it was late first quarter or early second quarter, but they stop it and they bring a few of us on the floor. And I've been on the court before because pregame we're allowed to go on the floor and watch the players warm up or walk the sideline, but it's always within the context of it's pregame and the arena's not full. It's maybe 10, 15, 20% full at most. And it's just a different, it almost is it feels more like an office space at that point, because you have so many people coming in and out, and
Sure.
but it never been on the court in that context of, I've never sat directly courtside like that, and I've never actually been on the floor. So to walk onto the floor and just look around at the 19,000 people and be able to soak in that moment in the history of it all, and LeBron being there with his family and Kareem being there and Adam Silver and all that stuff. It was just one of those moments I will never forget, and just witnessing firsthand NBA history of this is the moment he passed Kareem, and this is a record that maybe someone will break at some point down the road. You never want I don't think anyone thought Kareem's record was going to be broken, but there aren't many players like on the trajectory to break the record right now.
Maybe
So
Luka.
it is something, maybe Luka, but it is something that like, but even then it's probably what, another 15 years to,
Sure.
12 years for Luka to break it. So it's going to stand the test of time for at least a little bit here, and just being able to witness that firsthand. The other one quickly I'll say was I was in the building for Kobe's final game.
Yeah.
And at that point I was when I was at Fox Sports, and because there was so much media there, they put me in the upper press box. So I was above the 300 levels. And the cool thing with that, like at first I was like, oh man, like it's like the worst seats I've had as a media member at a game.
Yeah.
But like the special thing with that night was like being able to see the whole arena react to every bucket in the second half and the fourth quarter. And it was like, it was just having a bird's eye view of that. And it almost became like bigger than just Kobe going off for 60. It became like his relationship with the crowd and just with Laker fans. And so I think there's almost something poetic there with like those two moments of one moment I'm on the floor, like in the thick of the action happening. And one moment I'm at literally the top of the building, as high as you can get, and viewing it that way. So I think those are the two moments I think of when people ask me like what's my favorite Lakers coverage moment.
Definitely. No, that was great. That's legendary, man. As a fellow guy who grew up in Los Angeles, it feels like you're living the dream. I definitely envy everything you're doing. Much respect for the socials, and I'm keeping up with all your live streams and all that. So it's been awesome. And for myself, trying to build my own thing. So definitely much respect, and I appreciate you so much for hopping on. I know you're a busy guy. We got 2 games against the Clippers, so big games coming in. I'm super excited to watch the rest of the season and everything you're doing, and yeah, would love to stay in touch in the future for sure.
Thanks, man. Of course, I appreciate you inviting me on. I'm glad we were able to do this, and anything you need, let me know.
Sounds great. Appreciate you, Jovan.